You may not have a people problem, you may have a perspective problem. We're talking about generational leadership. It's the same mission, but maybe some different interpretation. How to lead well with generational differences. Today on Leading Forward.
All right, Jeremy, we're talking about generational changes today and how we lead with different generations that are all in the workforce at the same time. Really excited about this conversation, something I've been able to teach on and be able to speak at different national conferences. So believe this really is transformational for leaders of all different industries.
Candidly, I'm going to be chiming in on your teaching today, man. So I'm going to be picking up some stuff along with everybody else tuning in, listening. And really, the part that I'm excited about is because every single team, well, I can't say that, but every team I can think of
is dealing with this.
Is dealing with generational leadership. You got some boomers, you got Gen X, you got Gen Alpha. I don't even know what gen we're on now.
Yeah, Gen Alpha is the youngest generation right now.
And so you're going to walk us through some common general dynamics and quirks and things of each different age group and kind of how to lead through it.
So, hey, thank you so much for joining us today on Leading Forward. Make sure that you like, subscribe, continue to follow us on social media. We're going to have some of these resources on our social media. If you would like more, please reach out. Send us a message. We would love to be able to help you and your company really lead differently with the next generation. And as you blend all these generations together, how does it really work?
Creating a mosaic, man. Masterpiece.
So thank you for joining us today on Leading Forward. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So we have to first start off by defining what the generations are.
Good.
Right? And so really looking at really four different generations. You have the boomers. Those are the older generation. They were born between 46 and 64.
Yes.
Okay. So they're 65 plus now. And then you have Gen X, which we're right there on the cusp of Gen X, born 65 to 79.
What year were you born? 79.
I'm 79.
79, 78. Dude, so we made Gen X.
Yes, we are Gen X.
By the hair of our chin.
And then there's this actually subset of Zennials, which is the last part of Gen X that really grew up in a Gen X, but they have a little bit of millennial world and understanding some of those things. And then you have Gen Y or millennials that are born 80 to 94. And then you have Gen Z that are born 1995 through 2009.
Okay.
They're the last generation that was born in the 1900s. And then we have Gen Alpha, which is the first generation that will be fully born in the 2000s.
The digital world, fully submersed.
You know, and so when we think about our lives and just how Gen X really is this unique of understanding black and white television, understanding life before the internet, not growing up with anything but the one phone that hung on the wall in the kitchen, right? And that was the generation. And now every 9-year-old walking around, you say they got a phone in their hand.
Yes.
And so it really is different. And so how do we lead and how do we communicate? So before we get into this, how have you seen different generations play out with how in your different roles that you've had?
Let me give you a stupid one.
All right,
and this one is probably, if you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. Earbuds. They are a normal part of, I guess, so what we'll say is Gen Alpha, right?
Yep.
Especially.
And millennials.
Yeah, exactly. So basically any conversation that it's a pet peeve. I've heard other people talk about it. But one example is kids and young adults and whoever wearing earbuds while you're having a conversation with somebody else or in a public setting where there's dialogue happening. Like, don't do it. Stop it.
Okay, so I'm going to push back into the other side of this.
Okay.
So as a Gen Xer, my wife has actually said I need to start wearing my AirPods more because they actually have a hearing device in them, so I can actually hear during conversations.
Okay, caveat. If it's aiding your hearing, you're allowed to wear them, but you should do this if you're going to have a conversation with somebody. Hey, this is going to help me hear you better. You're something like that, right?
Yeah, because you're not ready to go to the full hearing aid yet, so how do you use the AirPods for now?
Dude, that's a little bit of a dilemma.
Yeah.
Because it is sending mixed
signals there.
Mixed signals. Okay, we'll have to circle back to that one. I don't know, man.
So, yeah, it is different, right? And just how different people look at and perceive. That's what you
Yes.
talk about, the
Right.
perspective of different generations. So let's talk about the problem. We have 3-4 generations that are working in the workforce right now,
That's right.
in churches,
Beautiful.
in businesses, in corporate America. And so today what we're really going to focus on is Gen Z. Those are our 17 to 32-year-olds right now.
It's probably a bulk of the workforce.
And
Yeah.
it's a lot of the workforce, and when it's a lot of the people that we're hiring.
True.
So we need to understand what makes them different. So first off, we got to talk about the problem.
Okay.
The problem is the younger generation is less equipped than ever before to enter the workforce. The education system has not done them any favors. Their millennial Gen X parents didn't really set them up for success in a lot of different ways.
Right.
And they're not equipped to enter the workforce. And at the exact same time, the older generation is not equipped to lead a changing world. So the rub becomes even more, right?
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
they're not equipped and they're not equipped and they don't even know how to speak each other's languages. One of the things that Leslie said a while back, she said from moving from her great grandmother to her grandmother, it was a 3% change. And then from her grandma to her mom, there was a 5% change. And from her mom to her, there was another 5% change. But from us to our kids, it feels like it's a 30% change.
Great divide. Yeah.
There's this massive change in the world, and it's because it's changing so fast. We were behind on even protecting our kids in some ways.
We were the very first generation to have to figure out parenting with digital access for everybody. Yeah.
So therefore, there's some failures on Gen X,
Sure.
older
Yeah.
millennial as parents to be able to equip. But now they're in the workforce. What are we going to do? How are we going to equip them? So think about this, okay? Gen Z is a generation of first. They are the first. They are the first generation to be able several things. They do not need adults to get information.
Right.
They can broadcast every thought and every emotion. They have 24/7 external stimuli. They have the AirPods in. They're always listening to something. There's always something stimulating them. They will learn more from a device than they ever will in a classroom.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
It's crazy. I mean, if you wanted to know something, you went and asked an adult. You went to the library to check out a book.
Call people, yeah.
Now all information is accessible. They live in isolation and constant social contact. They're more isolated and in more contact. And we're going to talk about the paradox that they live
Yes,
in.
it is.
They have adults who have created and enabled their narcissism.
Okay.
And we see this in this generation. There's a lot of narcissism, but that came from somewhere. It's not all on them. And they have, this is funny to me, they've replaced a watch, a camera, a calendar, a clock, a map, and a board game all with a phone.
So, when cumulatively, when you think about the times there's the general person who's got a phone is in their phone. In their defense, I guess I could say there are a lot of different functions that they could be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you see that this is a generation of first, these 17 to 32-year-olds,
Yeah.
they've experienced things for the first time, which impacts how we parent. It impacts how we lead. It impacts how we hire them and things that they're not equipped. So how are we training them? How are we helping them to be at their best when we don't even understand the world that they grew up in?
And they're asking different questions
Sure.
than boomers and Xers. They're asking different questions. And they need, love languages, the book and the whole school of thought on, if that's new to you, knowing your love language is knowing how you like to receive love, how you feel loved. I think everybody should take the test. There's an online test. It's Emerson Eggerichs. And no, it's not. Nope, that's love and respect.
Yeah.
Anyway, look it up. Find it.
Gary Chapman?
We're going to say that.
Gosh.
I don't know,
I
man.
just went completely blank.
But the way that you receive love isn't necessarily the way that your person or your son or somebody who's close to you receives love and feels loved. So we all have one or two primary love languages. In a similar way, different people from different generations they need different things from their leader. Would you say that? Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And even different generations have some commonalities in how they speak and how they work and how they process.
We've seen that.
And so I cannot sell this people enough on this. Doing a DISC assessment for your team is the greatest
probably
resource that you can provide. I've done, I don't know, at this point, somewhere between 400 and 500 DISC assessments.
That's wild.
It is the most affordable. Yeah. It is the greatest asset. It is the thing that allows you to learn their strengths, learn how they communicate, and how you need to communicate with them, regardless of generation. I'm just going to look at the camera. If you want to find out more about doing a DISC assessment for your team, learning communication, learning strengths, making sure you have the right person in the right position, please reach out to us. Send us a message. We would love to help you through this process. It really is a life-changing thing for your company.
I think that's one of the first places that most coaches will start is, and you're probably in that same boat, like, hey, let's understand first how you are wired as a leader. Right. And then let's talk about the rest of your team and the people that you're so concerned with. Like, let's understand how they're motivated and how they think and how they're driven. Yeah. Cool.
So we use this for hiring. You can't legally use it for hiring, but we're using it as an assessment to understand, is this the right fit for the right position? Right. You don't want someone who's a high I, which is a salesperson, working in accounting. It's not going to work. Right. They're all about relationships and moving fast and ADD, and the person in accounting is looking at not just dollars, but pennies. Right. And they're just wired differently. Well, that's true with generation as well. Okay. So we need to understand the world that they grew up in, and some things translate across generations. So we need to be able to use those resources as well. So when you look at Gen Z, think about this. This is the world that they grew up in. Speed, convenience, entertainment, nurture, and entitlement.
I mean, that's fair.
That's the world they grew up in.
Consistent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Everything's about speed. Everything's about convenience. It's about entertaining me. It's about nurturing, and a little bit of coddling is how Gen X would say it, right? Yeah. And entitlement. Because of that, they assume slow is bad, hard is bad, boring is bad, risk is bad, labor is bad.
Wow.
So I avoid those things because of the world they grew up in, and older millennials, Gen X, boomers go, well, of course you're supposed to show up for work. Yeah. And you're going, well, you show up for work and you get a paycheck. That's what you get.
Yeah, you don't get a pat on the back.
You don't get a pat on the back. You get a paycheck. That is your pat on the back. Right. Yeah, toughen up, Sally. Let's get to work. Yeah. But the context from what they grew up in and what they've been told and what's really been reinforced and how they process the world means that we have to communicate differently with them. Mm-hmm.
Man. Okay, so if I'm listening to this and I'm a parent, like, hey, I don't really have a team at work. And, I listen to this because, you guys help me with parenting and thinking biblically about things. Let's just go there for a second. And for our parents who have kids at home right now, those would be most likely Gen Alpha. So they're hearing a lot of these things and it's ringing bells for them, right? It is for me. Yeah. So what would you say? And I know we're not on the solution side of it yet, but I don't know, man. Is there something that, because I want the person who's a parent who hears the corporate talk and the church world talk, I want them to hang in to the end because we have some help for them. What would you say to them right now?
It's not the same world.
Yeah.
And you want them to live under the rules of the old world, and that world no longer exists.
Dang.
And that's hard. That's just hard to chew and to swallow and just go, and it's not the same world. But yeah, but if you do this, this, and this, it's going to end up winning. But it doesn't always translate right now.
My oldest son is trying to find a job. Guess what I told him? You show up in person. You have your resume, you get it filled out, or your application submitted, but then you show up in person and you say, hey, my name is Jet, and Jet's awesome, by the way. He's 17-year-old junior going on 25 years old, it feels like. But I'm coaching him on the interview process and how to show up and come back again and follow up with a phone call. And you know what he's getting when he shows up in person is
go online.
Go online. Go online. You can't talk to anybody. A manager's not here. This person's not here. Just go do it 100% online. And then he follows up with phone calls still. And he can't get through to anybody.
Can't get through.
Yeah.
It is the weirdest thing. So I actually presented this stuff, all this information at Smoothie King's National Convention last year.
Right.
Speaking to franchise owners, speaking to regional directors, general managers of store. These quick service restaurants, right? That the Jets and the kids are trying to apply for. They don't have a system to onboard them. And so what I did was say, you need to understand they are different and what you expect is different. So how do we communicate with them? And so if you're in that place that you're hiring, man, we want to be able to help you through these things and we want to be able to help you. So for the parent, just understand when they come tell you that and you want to go, that's stupid. That's not how it works. No, it is how it works.
It is. It is. There's this quote I like. It's, you don't lead generations by changing the mission. You lead generations by translating the mission. And that goes to,
world.
It is. And we hear things differently. And when we see something or experience something, when I say we, I mean different generations, we interpret it differently. And so really, as leaders, identifying, I think what we're saying is you have to identify the fact that they're seeing things differently than you. And this seems kind of no duh, but it's a good place to start. And they're hearing things differently. Yeah. And if you lead a certain way, and if we say, this is my leadership style, and this is who I am, there's a difference between your leadership identity and then your fixed leadership style. I would say if that's you and you're like, man, this is my leadership style, get on board or get behind me. Be real careful. And I think that's probably where we're going with this episode. Yeah.
So the biggest thing is understanding that the ability to communicate is on the leader.
Yes.
Not on the rookie.
Right.
So we want the rookie who has no experience to come live in our world and speak our language.
Yeah.
But as the leader, if we really want to have influence, then we have to speak their language.
Yes.
Right. And so if we're going to go to a different country, we don't speak loud and slow and hope they understand our English, right? That doesn't work. It's a different language. Well, it's not just language, it is understanding of that language. And you need to be able to speak their language in such a way that they can understand what you want. It doesn't mean lower your standard. We talked about that last week.
Exactly.
Right? With the DEI stuff, it's not about lowering the standard. It's about keeping the standard high, but how do you perform at that level?
Dude, I'm going off scene because I'm going to grab something. I want to know where you're going next, but I want to throw back to the episode from yesterday or the last week, whenever they watched it. We talked about social injustice, inequality, and all that. Yeah. So I'm just going to nod back to that for a second because I totally forgot to do this. This is a book that I recommend everybody read. It is Confronting Injustice Without Compromising Truth. And really, Confronting Injustice Without Compromising Truth. It's by Thaddeus Williams. It's just a great read. A lot of the stuff that we kind of launched off of yesterday were talking points and main themes in this. So, bam, recommend it.
Good stuff.
Back on.
Always great to have resources for us. All right, so with this different language, they live in a different paradox. Mm-hmm. Not only do they live in a different world, but this is a generational paradox that we've never seen before. Okay, so let me talk about a little bit about these paradoxes that they live in. They are more sheltered and more pressured than any other generation.
Yeah.
It says paradox. A paradox is when two things feel like they're in opposition, right? They're more sheltered and under more pressure than ever before. Okay. They are more self-absorbed and at the same time, more generous. So some surveys show that Gen Z may be the most generous generation ever. They might own less things than any generation ever too. Wow. You know, that's a whole different political conversation and looking, but they are generous and self-absorbed at the same time. They are adventuresome and fearful.
Yep.
So they will go, hey, we're 17 years old. Hey, Mom, 4 of us are going to Florida to go to the beach. And they will get it in their car and 4 of them not have a clue and no plan and go on some adventure. And at the same time, they're going to quit their job to go to another job and they won't even tell the person they quit. Mm-hmm. They just stop showing up.
Break up on text.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. They are high potential and high maintenance.
Yeah.
They require a lot of work and a lot of coddling and a lot of acceptance, but they have high potential. They are non-confrontational and ambitious. So they won't tell their boss they're quitting, but you will have an intern at a major corporation, and he will see his boss, whose boss's boss's boss, 5 levels up, and he'll go, "Hey, I got an idea for you. I think I need to run by you."
Yes.
And you're going, "Who are you,
bro?"
Yeah, who are you, bro? Yeah. Hey, bro. No, I'm your boss. Boss, the boss of that boss of that boss, and they'll just come up and have a conversation. Where for us, you're going, you don't go talk to that
protocol.
person.
Yeah,
There's protocol. There's chain of command. Stay in your lane. You've been here for 2 weeks. What do you mean you're talking to the boss, right? And then here's the last thing of the paradox that I want you to see. 10 is the new 15, and 26 is the new 18.
Okay, break that down.
10 is the new 15. What kids were once exposed to at 15 years old, they're now exposed to at 10 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately.
The things that we didn't know until high school, they're exposed to at 8, 9, 10 years old.
Mm-hmm. That's what the data shows, right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then 26 is the new 18, meaning that the maturity of an 18-year-old years ago, they're not reaching that same level of maturity until they're 26, 27, 28.
We call that prolonged adolescence, and it's toxic.
So for the millennial generation, we did see it as toxic. We saw it as you're not getting out of your mom's house, you're not growing up. But now the generation that's coming, this Gen Z, it is their life. They're not maturing, and we're not pushing them to mature. So it's not just you don't want to grow up. They don't know how to grow up.
Mm-hmm. Man, let me sound off on dads for a second. This is for moms and dads, but a lot of what we're talking about, and I'll pause and say, what I appreciate, Nick, about what you're sharing is it's both the giftings of these generations. Like there are some amazing qualities, and there's some quirks, and there's some things that are, gaps where we're just, we need to figure that out. But as parents, and you already did say this, we have to take some ownership.
Absolutely.
And not just guilt of not doing it right, but like, what are we doing now? Knowing these things is the first step to figure out how to lead them, how to parent them. And you may be past the point of having, youngsters, maybe they're 20, maybe they're 25, but there's a way that you can still influence them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you think about these different generations, you think about how they just see the world and how they interacted with the world.
Yeah.
We went from a lot of Gen X, latchkey kids, both parents were working.
Yep.
You had a key, you rode your bike home from
Figure it
school.
out.
On Saturdays, mom kicked you out of the house because she was cleaning and see you at dark, right?
Right.
When the street lights came on. You went from that to what they called helicopter parents, right?
Yeah.
The parents that were always in everybody's business and making sure they saw everything that was going on. What we're seeing today is not helicopter parents. It's called pillow parents. They won't even let their kid fall. They've created so many boundaries, and they've wrapped them in bubble wrap that they're afraid to even let their kid fall. But it's by falling that you actually get stronger.
That's right.
And so some of it's parents' fault. Some of it is the generational fault. Some of it's what they're seeing in everyone else's life. It is only through failure that we get stronger.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That's growth.
So we have to think, lead, speak differently. So how do you think this plays out in teams that you've led or different organizations that you've seen?
Sure. There's something very helpful that I don't know that we do enough. I'll go ahead and say we don't do it enough. And you got to be careful with how you do this. I think I'll answer your question by giving an example of something that we do from time to time called listening sessions.
Okay.
And you may be a boomer or an Xer and you're hearing this like, oh, what's this crap?
Yeah.
A listening session, you call it different things, right? You call it, I've heard it called a couple different things, but basically you pull a couple people in from various parts of your organization, team, or industry, and you ask them targeted questions about their experience, about their interpretation. Hey, when I say this, what do you hear? Yeah. And you get some honest feedback. And what I've also found is if you pull one person from a particular area, you'll get very limited. But if they have a few more where they start talking together, then what you don't want to do is pull people who you don't trust, don't want to hear from anyway,
It's true.
and you don't want to outnumber yourself unnecessarily. Now I'm going to get in a room with 500 people and ask for feedback questions. No, you're going to get slaughtered.
Yeah, that's mob mentality right
Yes,
there.
it is. Yeah. That's one of the tools that you can use is, hey, it has been so enlightening. We did the very first one that we did. We pulled, and these are ministry areas, and these are not staff members. We just pulled in people of the church and said, hey, what do you think about this? And do you feel like you've got all the information you need? Are you being developed? All these different things. And we were very, very surprised by how helpful that was. Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things I want to talk through is that we have to think differently. And what you're doing there is thinking differently to reach the next generation. Whether that's in your role as a pastor, whether it's leading staff members, or you're talking about in the corporate world and you're running a business, you need these 17 to 32-year-olds that are coming into your workforce.
Oh, yeah.
And so how do you need to think differently and how do you need to perceive
Yes.
things differently? So let me give you a few different things of how to think differently. Connect is greater than control. And I think that's what you were trying to do there. You're trying to connect with them rather than just control them.
Yeah.
You have to learn to interpret is greater than informing them.
Ooh, okay.
Meaning that you have to interpret, this is the situation, not just telling them 1, 2, 3.
Right. They need more
They need more.
a lot of times.
Yeah. You have to help them is greater than just telling them to do it.
Yeah.
You may have to, it was, you saw your boss do it. He watched you do it. Bye. Figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It may take that doing it with them 4, 5, 6 times and you're ready to move on, but they're not ready to own it yet.
I found that exact thing.
And it's, everybody's feeling these things.
Yeah.
And they got a little data point here and a little data point here. And you're going, but what do I do with it?
Right.
And it really is this thinking different. Preparing is greater than protecting them. So we have to prepare them. Hey, tomorrow is inventory day. It's going to be a harder day. It's going to take a little bit longer to go through our inventory.
Good. Yeah.
So just want you to be prepared that tomorrow's going to be this.
That's great.
So whatever you need to do differently to be able to prepare for that allows them to prepare their mind in order that they know it's coming.
Yeah.
So don't just protect them, but prepare them. Ask, don't tell. Be real. Don't try to be cool. You're old. I'm old, bald, fat.
Yeah.
Be real. Don't try to be cool, right? And then mentor is better than managing. They are looking for mentors. They are looking for someone
hungry
to help them
Yes.
to know what's next, and they're afraid to ask for it. So if you will take on the mindset, I'm here to interpret, to connect, to be able to mentor you rather than just be your manager and your boss, you will get so much more out of them.
And they'll roast you a little bit, and that's okay.
That's okay. That's actually
yes, absolutely.
Own it.
Let me slip this in here. If you only lead your way, you'll only reach your people.
Absolutely.
And sometimes that's good. You're like, I want to build a team of similar-minded people. But I'd say largely, you need to be able to lead in different ways. Not saying you change your identity as a leader, not just saying you compromise on the standards and values that you have. But like Paul said, I can be everything to every man. I believe that was like one of the core leadership teachings that I just took away from all of Scripture is you have to speak their language. You have to be able to connect, like Maxwell says, connect before you correct. Connect before, they need to know that you care before they, what is it? Before they care what you have to say?
Have to know that you care before they care what you know.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jacked it up. Word salad. But yes.
And it's different. So you have to be different. Listen, you probably worked for, when you were 20, you worked for some guy that was in his 50s and he was just a mean old man. Right? He was abusive and he was vulgar and didn't have a care for you in the world. Right? You didn't like it. Why do we think it's okay to have that same mentality?
Yeah. But then we'll say, well, that's the way that it's like football coaches. I'm going to go, hang on now, don't retract. But that old philosophy of I'm going to tear them down That don't work, man. I can tell you right now with my
Not for this
kids,
generation.
they don't want to play ball. If they have coaches that are, hey, you're a this, suck it up, you're that, and you're just tearing them down. We could have responded differently 20 years ago, and we did.
Sure.
But it's just not the way to lead today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you have to think differently.
Yeah.
You have to act differently. Mm-hmm. It means that you have to be a host. A host welcomes them into the job every day. I'm so glad that you're here, because they really were thinking 30 minutes ago whether they're coming in or not. They just weren't going to tell you. You have to welcome them in. Be grateful that they came. And you're going, well, I'm grateful because I give them a paycheck. That does not motivate them.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to be their host. You have to be their doctor. You have to ask diagnostic questions. Hey, tell me more about this. Tell me more about, what do you mean your elbow hurts? What do you mean that you're sad? What do you mean by these things? Asking questions. You have to be their counselor, because they want you to be their therapist, because that's the world they live in. And so they're going to tell you about their breakup. They're going to tell you about their mom hurt their feelings. They're going to tell you that school's too hard for them. They're going to tell you nothing in life's going to.
Wow.
And you have to be their therapist, their counselor, who says, I hear you. I hate that you're going through this.
Yeah.
How do we get through this together?
I'm giggling because these are all very real, and scenarios and conversations are coming to mind as you're saying this. Yeah.
Yeah. Really, I have about 30 stories that I really could tell through this whole process, but we really wanted to be able to give them some information today, and we can
very
unpack
helpful.
these. And the last thing of acting differently is you have to be their tour guide. You have to walk with them step by step where you want them to go.
Yeah.
So last year I was able to go to Turkey and Greece. We had this tour guide. He would take us to different places and he would point things out. And he said, this happened here and this happened here.
Yeah.
And then he'd go, okay, we're all getting back on the bus and now we're going to this place. You have to do that with this next generation. You have to be able to say, here's what we're doing now. Look at this. Here's what we're doing next.
Yeah. Nick, I think the natural inclination for some people watching this right now is like, that's exhausting. That's a lot of work. What would you say to that?
Yes, absolutely. But here's the thing. This is the lead differently part. Okay. If you do not do these things, your company has reached its ceiling.
That's it.
You need this next generation to continue to move your organization forward. Your retirement may be based upon their success.
It's good.
Your ability to be able to hand the company off to your kids and the next generation. The ability to move forward is dependent upon how far you're willing to grow as a leader, how far you're willing to reach to be able to help them be at their best. And so you are without excuse.
Yeah, that really is leadership.
Hard? Yes.
Yeah. You say, well, I got things to do. Well, that's what you have to do.
It's people.
Is you're leading people who are doing the work and leading their teams. And that's your job.
Yeah, I think business owners get in this mindset of all the things they have to do, and you do. And being a business owner and working with business owners, it feels like the plate's never even half empty, right? It's usually falling over. But if you neglect people, you are neglecting your future.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I just thought about it. Eventually, we got to talk about the idea of an assistant and what that looks like. I don't know, that could be a targeted small group of people, but man, there's just so much to running a business and getting organized and getting some help. Even if it's not an assistant, like getting someone to come alongside you.
Yeah, you need somebody that's complementary to you.
Dude, to help you do the most important things that only you can do. That's another time.
No, I think that's really important. And so, you're a manager, business owner, and you're looking, okay, who am I going to hire as a manager to oversee this generation?
Yeah.
And these kind of things drive you crazy. You better hire someone who can do these things.
COO, EA, executive administrator, whatever those roles are. Yeah. Don't hire you.
No, you need someone complimentary, because then you just get more of you.
Yeah.
Now, we all know that you're awesome, but too much of just you does not help the business actually grow.
That's good. Okay, where are we at, man? What do you think? What do you think they need to hear?
This generation is different. They're going to require more. but they have a high ceiling.
Absolutely.
And that's what I want people to hear. They have a high ceiling. They just speak a different language than you. Mm-hmm. And so your success is dependent upon how well you adapt to this change.
Agree. It's beautiful.
Whether you're a parent, business owner, pastor at a church, trying to reach the next generation, lead the next generation, how far will you go as the leader to be able to adapt and be a better leader? This is really going to challenge your ability to lead.
Amen, man. Thank you, Dick. This is great.
It's good stuff. It's hard.
It's very.
And no one is exempt from it. That's the hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
No one is exempt from this. No organization, no business, no sector of the industry is exempt from these things. So we all need this better. And we want to be able to help you through this process. Yeah. What else you got?
Man, there's this little LEAD acronym. I'm not going to lie. I was playing with chat on this, and this, I love it. It helped me out. In context of what we're talking about, LEAD, L-E-A-D, L is listen across generations. Don't just hear, understand. And that's part of the, listening sessions or personal conversations or one-on-ones, leaning in. E, empathize with formation. So why do they think like that? Understanding why they think like that. Trying to feel, understand, put yourself in their shoes a little bit. Not toxic empathy to affirm everything.
We've already talked about that.
Yep, go back. A, align around the mission. Keep the main thing the main thing. So many times we major on the minors. And this and this. Well, hey guys, this is who we are. This is where we're going. What do you understand that? And then finally, D, deploy people in their strengths.
In their strengths, that's good.
Stop forcing uniformity. There's a difference between unity on a team and uniformity. We want unity. We want alignment around the mission, but not uniformity, because we don't need Nick and Jeremy 100X. That would be pretty cool.
The world would be better.
We could beat a gorilla, bro.
We would be able to solve all world problems.
We could take 3 gorillas. With 100X Nick and Jeremy.
It may not even take 100.
You take those eyes out first. That's what you got to do.
So all this is, it's difficult stuff.
Yeah.
It's the reality of leading differently, having different conversations, having any conversations at all, right? And staying aligned to the mission. Yeah. This is where we're going to go. Last thing I would tell you is, 2 things. Don't forget about the older generation. They're still valuable.
Oh my gosh.
Help them to understand these things. Teach them these things.
Honor them.
The
way they need to.
Be able to help them to understand. It's not that I'm babying them. They're just different. And so I still love you. I appreciate what you bring to our organization. So make sure that you honor them. And then
something else really good.
It was really good.
So good.
When you have some of these young leaders who are a little bit overly ambitious, don't beat them down.
Oh yeah.
They're the world changers.
Yeah.
They're ones that you actually need to form and help align and deploy towards your mission the most.
Yes.
So when you have they're a little bit over ambitious, they're a little bit too cocky, they're a little bit more than you want them to be, lean in on that, and those are the ones that you invest in the most because they can be world changers.
Those are your mavericks, man. And then you'd rather have to pull them back just a little bit with a couple tugs than to pull them up forward with you 100 times out of 100.
Yeah. It's always better to slow down a stallion than kick a mule.
Oh, dang, I like that. I don't know that I've heard that. Yep. I'm going to try to use that today. I don't know how.
Doesn't mean it's necessarily easier to slow down a stallion, great, man. But it's always better.
Yeah. Yeah. And can I add one more thing?
Please.
I know we got to wrap this thing up. If you are in one of the older generations and I talked to somebody about 3 years ago and they were very honest. We were just in a group and they said, I'm struggling with relevance, losing the status that maybe, you were the firecracker before and now there's dynamite on the team. Know when it's time to role shift. Within your organization, there should be seats that are generally wisdom seats. So if you are in that older generation and you've seen the things and you've done it, I mean, just keep your eyes open for a role that's you're going to have to shift roles.
Yeah.
You're going to, or else you're going to get left behind. That's just how it goes with the speed of things in a lot of organizations. And I don't hear that the wrong way. So I say this to encourage you. There is a better place in a lot of different occasions for you as you age with the company. Look for those wisdom seats.
Yeah, and if you're in your 20s, work harder.
Yes, you don't get a wisdom seat.
Yeah, just work harder. And so that's why I say your 20s are to grind.
Yeah.
Your 30s are to learn. Mm-hmm. Your 40s are to grow, and your 50s plus are to give.
That's it. Resource people.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us today with Leading Forward with Nick and Jeremy. We are always honored that you are a part of this. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe. If we can help you, please send us a message. We would love to partner with you and your organization to help you be at the very best, to lead all generations, to continue to learn, grow, and